All right, so we haven't talked about our militia in a little while, or the militia series, I'm sorry. If you remember, the last thing we talked about was the general militia. And this, of course, just all my theories, which are worth, almost nothing. But in my mind, I break the militia down into three groups: the general militia, the organized militia, and the constitutional militia. The constitutional militia being a unique component specific to America, although other cultures have similar setups. So we talked about the general militia. The general militia just being every able-bodied man in a society, and that those men, each individual man is responsible for the peace and prosperity of his family in the area around him, and he has ultimate moral authority and responsibility in his sphere. I won't bore you again with that video. Go watch it. It's the one right before this in the militia playlist. The next level of the militia is the organized militia, and this is what we all think of when we think militia. The guys who really do this well that I'm acquainted with are Pennsylvania State Militia. He did a video on this, and he went real in depth on it. It's about a 26-minute long video. I would be wasting everyone's time to recreate everything he said. You should just go watch his. I will try to link it to this, but I never remember to do that when I say I will, so there's a good chance I won't. But you go to his channel, and I don't remember what it's called. I think he's got our name in it, our the Revolting Man in there, which was very kind of him, because he was sort of responding to us. But check him out. But I came away from there with a few thoughts, of course, and I'm going to run with it. And most of this is stuff that I took away directly from his video. So what's the organized militia? So the organized militia is that next step when individual members of the general militia decide, in order to be effective at this core function of being a man, of being in a militia, they want to train together and organize so that they can be effective in functioning as the militia. Pennsylvania State Militia does this really well. In the old days, it was understood every man was the general militia, and every able-bodied man participated in some kind of organized militia. What's the difference? So as far as I can tell, just looking at it and trying to make my own observations, in order to consider it an organized militia, there needs to be a command structure, some form of training regimen, some understanding of what the mission is, and some kind of uniformity, or at least conformity, to a level of equipment. Lots of guys, especially American guys, start balking at some of this stuff. The command structure being the hardest part for a lot of guys to swallow. And we're going to talk about this more in the future, because Pastor Fox recommended a book called Total Resistance, and this touches on it a little. That book touches on this a little bit in there, about how with the militia, you can't rely on that military style command structure, and that's where the organized militia breaks down a lot of times. Because you'll get some guy, imagine some high-speed, low-drag, special forces operator coming out and saying, well, I want to be part of the organized militia. And he goes to his local, militia, and there's some 65-year-old Navy cook up there who's doing a bang-up job organizing the militia and doing the best he knows how to do. But it could be really hard for that, special forces operator to kind of integrate into that and willingly submit himself to, a 65-year-old Navy cook. Not that there's anything wrong with Navy cooks. You know what I'm trying to say here. I'm going to get comments from Navy cooks. So that gets to be kind of difficult for the men who are really qualified and really need to be in the organized militia. Who we really need in there. It can be hard for them to sort of swallow their pride. Not even swallow their pride, just take it seriously. I mean, what do you tell? Who was the American sniper? Was his name Chris Kyle? I may have that name wrong. I'm sorry. I always forget stuff when I get on camera. Well, you can tell Chris Kyle, you know, you're going to show up to his local militia where there's a bunch of good, solid men, you know, doing the best they can, what they know how, with what they have. And, you know, this guy is the American sniper. You know, I'm not saying he was ever a member of the militia, but you know what I'm saying. That would be really difficult, you know, to kind of, you know, swallow your pride and be a part of that group. What you really need, though, is those type of men to start getting involved in the organized militia and raising the bar for everybody and being able to rise through the ranks and make everybody better. There's a saying that I love that says there's no limit to what a man can accomplish as long as he doesn't care who takes the credit. And if you were one of those high-speed, low-drag guys who got involved with the militia and were willing to deal with, you know, what we probably call politics, even though that's probably not the right word, but if you could deal with that and deal with, you know, people, you could really be doing some good work, really doing some good work. Because, you know, the whole point, the fundamental need in an organized militia is someone to organize it. That's a lot of work, and that's not always going to be, you know, the fit, in shape young warrior. You know, you might need that 65-year-old Navy cook who's got the time to make phone calls and keep records and schedule meetings and stuff. You know, sometimes that hot to trot, you know, warfighter ain't that guy. So you need a command structure. You need someone who's willing to do the command structure, but who other men are willing to work under. And I think that one aspect right there is what makes this so difficult. Finding a man who can do it, who's willing to do it, who others are willing, who others take seriously and incredible. I would bet you that is the number one, or maybe the biggest obstacle to the organized militia. And then, you know, you gotta have a mission. You gotta kind of know what you're training for, what you guys are gonna stand up for and stand down for, and what your goals are. Pennsylvania State Militia talks. I think they call it the mission statement. And you know, the other part that gets hard for guys to take is the conformity. You know, you're not going to tell me what kind of rifle I got to carry. You're not going to tell me what kind of uniform I can. You know, I might not even be able to afford all this stuff. You know, I might be running around with some guys with scars and Tavors and, you know, high-end AR-10s and stuff, and, you know, the latest camis and all this Black Hawk gear. I couldn't personally afford that. I'm going to have to do military surplus. I've got my my little you know, built $750 AR-15. I wouldn't be able to equip myself to the level some of these guys might expect. Although I think most people are going to be okay with military surplus and AR-15. I mean, if there's like this stupid level of not stupid level, but like Marine Corps level of total uniformity, that's probably not. Basic words, just whew, reasonable. That's probably not reasonable. And then, of course, training, and that actually should be the easy part. But that's the organized militia. That's when men say, "Oh, I take this general militia thing really, really seriously. I want to do the things it takes to be good at it, and do it effectively, and do it well, and take it to that next level." In this day and age, right now, that organized militia, they can consider themselves our Minutemen. And if you are, you know, part of that organized militia, however messy it is, however ineffective you might think it is, you're at least doing something. You know, you're light years ahead of the rest of us. If you're that small percentage of men who are some level of organized, some level of you know, sporadic training at least, you know, some level of planning and thinking and preparing, then you have my respect. You don't have to do it well as long as you're doing it at this point. It would be nice if you were doing it well. Go look at Pennsylvania State Militia's videos. They seem to know how to do it well. I should say in recent weeks I have heard from a Michigan State Militia, an Ohio State Militia, and a Florida State Militia. And of course Texas is like one giant militia. It's like everyone in the state is a member of all kinds of these different militias. There may possibly be 10 million militia members in the state of Texas. I don't know. They've got a bunch, it sounds like. And then, of course, there's 3%ers and your oath keepers are out there. I mean, it's not like Pennsylvania State's the only one. They're the ones who I have come in contact with and who I've seen their videos, and they've impressed me. More than anyone else, they've at least shown publicly that what they can do. And that brings up a big point. You know, militia is a dirty word. We've got an old video called "Making Militia Polite Again" or something. The M word, making militia polite again. You know, the militia is supposed to be this, or has come for many people to be this sort of this shameful thing, you know, and a little embarrassing, and you roll your eyes when you talk about it. And I admire those men who are not allowing that to happen, who are standing up and saying, "Oh yeah, I'm militia," and sort of redeeming the phrase and the term and the concept. So if you are one of those men doing that in the organized militia, I appreciate you and we admire you, and hopefully more of us can start to emulate you. The next step in this is the constitutional militia. That is going to take me a little while to get that together. I've got to talk to a couple guys who are smarter about this than I am, and get the background, and because we got to talk laws and statutes and court cases and all kinds of crazy stuff to show you how our entire country in America, our entire governmental system was based on this idea of taking the general militia and making it a system of government. One of the reasons why our government was so effective for so many years is because it was the militia, it was the government. People are going to tell me I'm crazy here. It was the government submitting itself to the militia. That's really, if you wanted to deconstruct our entire government system, that's what it was based on. They came up with a way to make the government, to make the militia the government, and make it be effective, and it was effective. We're going to talk about that system at some point in the next few weeks. I'm not sure when. I got a bunch of stuff I got to get caught up on. But you know, I've said it before. This to me, this idea of revitalizing the militia is sorry, the boys are playing. They really like to photobomb the videos, and they're trying to figure out any way they can to get in the background. This is the way to save our culture. This is the way to save our country. That is not a racial thing. I'm not saying it's the way to save white people. You know, there's black people in our culture. There's Asian people in our culture. If you've adopted Western culture, you know, this is a way for us to preserve that for our children and our grandchildren, and just for posterity. Say what you want. You know, you complain about us all you want. Overall, in the aggregate, Western culture has been an incredible blessing to the world. We've had our few mistakes here and there. We haven't always been what we wished we would be, but overall, we've done a lot of good for the world, and we have a lot we can be proud of. And I think Western culture overall is worth preserving. If there's anything left of it at this point, I don't know that there is. But there you go. If we were going to do it, though, it's going to be with the militia. Men, we appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon.